Today I want to talk with you about another renewable source of energy, wind power. This isn't a new concept. In fact, wind has been used for centuries to pump water and launch sailing vessels. But more recently, wind power has been used to generate electricity. By the year 2000, California was using maybe 15,000 wind turbines to produce about 400 megawatts of electricity. And that was happening at a cost that would be considered competitive with coal or nuclear power. And although California currently leads the United States in harnessing wind power, there are several other areas that also hold considerable potential for increased production. Texas and the Dakotas alone have enough wind potential to power the nation. But since the winds are so variable, wind power alone would be unreliable as to a primary source of continuous energy. Nevertheless, it could be used as a secondary resource, along with fossil fuels. The strong and steady winds of the Pacific Northwest, especially in the Columbia River Basin, these winds would be ideal as a supplement to the hydroelectric power when the river is experiencing periods of low water levels. Studies by the U.S. Department of Energy indicate that wind power generated from the Great Plains in the middle of the country could supply the continental United States with almost 75% of the electricity required for the region. In another section of the same report, it was noted that wind power is the world's fastest growing energy source. Since 1998, the capacity for wind energy has increased by more than 35% worldwide. And improvements in wind turbine technology in the past couple of decades has improved efficiency, cutting the cost dramatically from roughly 40 cents to about 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And a new turbine design is being tested with a lower torque, so that may actually move the price closer to 3 cents. Europe currently accounts for over 70% of the world's wind power. India, China, Germany, Denmark, Italy, and Spain have published plans for major increases in wind-generated electricity projects in the next few years, and recent interest and exploration have been initiated in the United Kingdom and Brazil. Remote areas, especially islands and other regions at a distance from electrical grids, are vigorously exploring wind options. Clearly, the global implications not only for cheap energy, but also for clean energy could be enormous. And in some areas, the consumers are even willing to pay a subsidy for the pollution-free energy that wind provides their communities. In Colorado, for instance, through a program called Wind Source, about 10,000 customers pay an additional $2.50 per month for every 100 kilowatt-hours of wind power. Legislation in several states in the United States now requires utility companies to guarantee that a percentage of their electricity will be generated from renewable sources like wind power. Of course, there are some problems associated with wind power that do need to be considered. The blades on the turbines present a hazard to migrating birds. In some cases, the vibrations interfere with television reception in the area, and there have been objections to wind farms because they produce noise and because they are not visually appealing to residents nearby. So, in addition to the studies to improve turbine design and energy efficiency, some of the attendant problems also require research and development. Regarding the noise, let me mention that design modifications, basically modifying the thickness of the turbine blades and making adjustments to the orientation of the turbines, these modifications have diminished the noise substantially in a number of sites. As for visual appeal, Some creative ways to share the land to create a more attractive wind farm are being piloted. So that brings us to the issue of storing wind power. And although wind energy can be stored temporarily as battery power, the real challenge for wind power exploration will be how to level out the energy source. Alternatives for storage will be critical because even in an area with steady winds, wind is still not totally reliable. But a research institute has released promising results from studies to investigate the problem of intermittent wind. This is what they did. By dividing the wind turbines from one farm into two smaller farms with geographical separation, the capacity of the pair of farms increased by 331/3% over the efficiency of the larger farm with the same number of turbines. So, by taking advantage of the slightly different wind patterns, a more continuous supply of wind power can be generated. So, where are we with all of this? Well, the research that will make wind power a viable option is underway, but we need to continue to study in order to solve some of the problems before we can use wind power as a primary source of energy globally.